All right, we have Nathan Hochman waiting to come on here. He's running for Los Angeles County District Attorney, and we've had him on a number of times before. There is a developing mystery in this case involving Frazier Baum. He's the 22-year-old who crashed into all those parked cars in Malibu. He was speeding on PCH, hit the cars. The cars killed 4 Pepperdine girls who were standing outside between those automobiles. And yesterday, George Gascon came out, huffed and puffed, and beat his chest and announced murder charges against Baum, which, seemed perfectly reasonable until we found out that the defense attorney for Baum, Michael Kraut, had another story. And Kraut came on our show with the story that Baum was being chased, that another man had seen Baum texting while stopped at a traffic light in front of Duke's restaurant. This is the story. I have no idea what to believe here. But this is what Kraut has told us and other media outlets. And this mystery man chased Baum and eventually hit his car, bumped him, sideswiped him, nudged him. Car went flying into the parked vehicles and killed the girls. And Baum's attorney said, we have the name of this guy. We know the make of his car. He's been involved in other road rage incidents. And this puts a different light into the charges. Because normally it's gross vehicular negligence. But in this case, it's second-degree murder. So what I wondered is Gascon grandstanding here because he's running for re-election? What do the other district attorney candidates think? And Nathan Hochman was willing to come on. And obviously there's a lot in this case we don't know. Nathan, welcome.
Great to be on. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, just laid out the general state of things. What do you think? What's your first reactions here?
So my first reaction is that Gascon actually bringing charges that that dovetail with the evidence is highly unusual. We haven't seen him do that in smash and grab robberies. We haven't seen him do that if someone actually uses a gun during a robbery. He won't bring the gun enhancement. But the issue is whether or not the investigators were presented with this exculpatory evidence that there was some other individual that was egging this person on with road rage, that somehow this person hit it. They supposedly have a video that shows all this, which would be shocking to have a video that the guy's driving 70 or 100 miles an hour and he's taking out his phone and videotaping the whole thing. But supposedly this is the evidence. And this gentleman, if you recall, was arrested but then released while the LA Sheriff's Department did a further investigation. I will guarantee you, having worked with law enforcement for decades, that if they had that information, they would have requested it from the defendant, and if he wanted to produce it, he could have. They would have talked to all the witnesses. They would have done the sort of analysis of the street and skid marks and any toxicology. They did search warrants, they said. So I would be very surprised if you have a situation where the person wasn't driving, as they've alleged, over 100 miles an hour, and had, and basically had the malice, the reckless indifference to human life, the malice that would justify a murder prosecution.
So you're skeptical of the defense attorney's claims?
I'm skeptical. Having been a defense attorney, having been a prosecutor, I know that if I was defending this person, I had that evidence, that compelling evidence, I would get it in the investigator's hands immediately. I wouldn't wait to bring it, quite candidly, on a radio show or before a judge later in the process if I was convinced this was the get out of jail free card. And so I am skeptical that a defense attorney would have such powerful evidence and not reveal it to either the investigators or to the court. And again, with Gascon is following the lead of the investigators, and the Sheriff's Department, presumably based on the evidence so far, has laid out a case for murder in the second degree, and he has actually had his deputies file it. And that's probably the unusual step that he has taken in this particular case that he hasn't taken in many cases.
Well, do you think it's because he's running for re-election? I can't think of another reason he would come with murder charges here.
I mean, this is typical for Gascon. Gascon is doing stuff on the eve of his election that he hasn't done for 3+ years. Supposedly, Gascon was all concerned about wage theft in this district, that he claims that we're the capital of wage theft, and waits almost 3 years to set up a labor justice unit and has now gone after 4 people in the entire county. So Gascon is doing a lot of stuff in anticipation of this election to make it look like he's doing his job where he's been missing in action for almost 3 years now.
I don't know if you're aware of, we talked about this earlier on the show. There's a case involving Gregory Black. He's 31 years old. He is black, and he was the guy who crashed his car at 100 miles an hour into an Uber back in August in downtown L.A. Killed 3 Hispanic women, and he was a gang member. He had a long criminal record. He was on probation. He went 100 miles an hour in a 35 zone. And he only got gross vehicular manslaughter charges for their 3 deaths. So I wondered, what is the difference? If you take the charges at face value here, why he would get vehicular manslaughter charges and Bohm is getting murder charges?
If you knew nothing, if there are no distinguishing facts beyond the fact that you had someone driving in excess of 100 miles an hour, crashes into people and ends up killing them, one could argue that this case is getting more publicity and attention than the other case. And Gascon was, again, he's a man who responds to publicity. And that because this case is getting more attention, he's going to take a stronger stance than he did in the other case. Because his default position in all cases is to go with the weakest charge, the least charge that he can possibly bring against anyone. That is his default position. He actually says that in his special directives, that in most cases he seeks probation or the lowest end of the term as to what his deputies are allowed to ask for. So, but we're getting close to the election. He knows that's a losing position. So now he's going ahead and, as you said, beating his chest and trying to look like he's actually enforcing the law when he has spent most of his term not doing so.
So if this defense attorney, Michael Kraut, holds a press conference and lays out convincing evidence that the second driver may have had a lot to do with the crash, what would that do to the case? What would that do to Gascon?
Well, again, if somehow the detectives, both the deputy district attorneys and the LA sheriff's detectives affirmatively said, we don't want to see this evidence, and now they're presenting it, that would be shocking. But that would obviously be a development in the case. And if they could show that there was some other individual that was engaged in some level of road rage, but still, Bohm is driving 104 miles an hour in a 45 miles a zone, going around what's been called Dead Man's Curve on the PCH in Malibu, and acting completely recklessly. It'll be an argument that the defense attorney is going to try and make, but it is a very difficult argument to make.
So it's not really it's not going to excuse him for what happened, because he did go that fast. He did drive in that reckless manner.
Correct. It could be some mitigating factor at sentencing that a judge could take into account. It could be a way that a jury ultimately concludes it's something less than second-degree murder, and they find some type of vehicular manslaughter charge more appropriate. But it's a defense to the charges. It doesn't negate the fact that you could bring in these type of situations implied malice murder charge.
All right, Nathan Hochman, thank you. And your campaign continues. How can people learn about your campaign online?
Certainly. If they go to Nathan Hochman, NathanHochman.com, they can learn all about the campaign, all about myself, and hopefully come this coming March in the primary, vote for me for district attorney.
All right. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.